Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yikes! Jim and Rob overanalyze movies. Tonight got a special show for you, something a little different, something a little out of the ordinary. Going to be actually doing a bit of a deep dive on what I think you think of the movies that are coming out next month. Really, if you watched it and you reviewed it on IMDb. That's what I'm going to try and predict here. I'm going to break each film down briefly on what I think are the key criteria. I'm going to show my work, and then I'm going to give you an estimate on what I think. So, yeah, there we go. Let's get the show on the road. All right. Yes, that is what we're going to do. We're going to predict, or I'm going to predict what I think will be how people will look at, how people review, and to a degree how Rotten Tomatoes will, the tomato meter of the big movies coming out next month. Now we got a long list. So let's get started right away. But one more thing before I get on that, just to kind of give you my criteria. I'm either going to say it's a woof, and what that means is it's going to score 6.2 on IMDb or lower, or it's a wow, which means it's going to score 7.2 dB or 7.2 on IMDb or higher. Or it's going to be right in the middle, average, a perfectly fine movie, 6.2 to 7.2. So below 6.2, woof, above 7.2, wow, and right in the middle, well, that was a fine movie, perfectly average. All right, of course, your mileage may vary. This is strictly talking about in the aggregate. So what is our first movie? Our first movie is Bad Boys, Ride or Die. Oh my goodness. What the heck is this nonsense? All right. Let's take a look. All right. Here's the log line for this summer. World's favorite Bad Boys. The world's favorite Bad Boys are back with their iconic mix of edge-of-your-seat action and outrageous comedy, but this time with a twist. A twist. Miami's finest are now on the run. So it's basically a Bad Boys movie, except this time they're trying to find out who the bad guy is while they're accused of the crime. Which, of course, if you've seen the trailer, is Joe Pantoliano, his character, their captain, their leader, who's dead, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, for this franchise, it's the fourth of a series. For this franchise, the IMDb rating has been averaging at about 6.6. While critical reception of the first two flicks was poor, the third actually did okay. While at the same time, it was the lowest IMDb. The third one was the lowest IMDb rating at 6.5. The directors, Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, a lot of experience under their belt, 7 features to date, including the third Bad Boys. So it's not like they're unfamiliar with the franchise. Their average IMDb rating is a solid 6.8. You know what? Honestly, the star talent here, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence, Vanessa Hudgens, who's, I think, they're all sort of names of a different time, right? So I think what we're going to get is a perfectly fine movie. It will sit in that sweet spot, in that average class, somewhere between 6.2 and 7.2. Above 6.2, below 7.2. It's a movie, all right. All right, next up. What am I looking for here? Yes. The Exorcism. Okay, this nonsense. Here's the log line. A troubled actor begins to exhibit a disruptive behavior, and that's a quote from the log line. While shooting a horror film, his estranged daughter wonders if he's slipping back into his past addictions or if there's something more sinister at play. I suspect something more sinister is at play. Anyway, it stars Russell Crowe, horror flick, director Joshua John Miller. Interesting note. He's a longtime character actor. He was the little vampire kid in Near Dark, which I think is really kind of noteworthy. He also wrote The Final Girls, that kind of meta look at a horror film. But his actual number of features under his belt, this is his first. He's a first-time feature. First-time feature director, and I would say Russell Crowe is definitely in the phase of his career, at least to me it seems, where he's like, what's that? The check will clear. The check clears. I'm there. Yeah. So I'm not expecting much out of this. To be perfectly honest, I wouldn't see it anyway. It's not my bag, but based on what we know now, generic horror film, Russell Crowe is your only named talent at this stage in his career. The director hasn't directed before, notwithstanding all his character actor work. It's not like he's unfamiliar with set or with storytelling. He has written before. I would still. It's going to be a heavy lift to even get into average, to get above 6.2. So I got to admit, if I'm wagering, I'm not expecting a lot from this. I think it's going to be 6.2 or less. It will not be average. It'll be a woof. Maybe a high woof, but a woof nonetheless. But heck, you know what? Come talk to me in a couple of months and we'll take a look at the numbers. We'll find out if I'm full of crap or not. All right, moving right along. But before I do, this would be a perfect time to beg for a like, a subscribe, a little ringy ding of that bell. That would be wonderful. And let's get back at it. All right, the next one. Actually, this is the film that sort of triggered me to do this. And shout out to my good friend, great friend of the channel and good friend, good internet friend, Brian over at Dragon Movie Guy. But yeah, I was watching his Outlook with Zach Milne that got me thinking, you know what? No one actually predicts how this will play out. I'm going to be that guy. And that movie was The Watchers. Here's the log line. A young artist gets stranded in an extensive, immaculate forest in Western Ireland, where, after finding shelter, she becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers, stalked by mysterious creatures each night. This is based on a book by an Irishman, hence the setting. It is directed by Ishana Shyamalan, who is the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan. She does have a number of TV credits. She's worked a lot on her father's productions, so it's not like she's totally green. And she's definitely, this Nepo baby has been around storytelling, so that bodes well. The talent here, Dakota Fanning, you know what? She is not the hot commodity she once was. Actually, I don't think she's been that for a long time. That said, she may be still a bit more discerning than I suspect Russell Crowe is. Russell Crowe has nothing to prove. Dakota Fanning does. But still, it's going to be a heavy lift to get into that middle, right? But I am willing to wager that she is going to this is going to be an average film. It's going to be right in that 6.2, above 6.2, below 7.2, right in that average sweet spot. It'll be, well, that's a fine first feature, you know. Yeah, that's my thinking there. Quick take a look. I should take a look at the chat, see what we got going on here. Dragon Rideshare guy. Yo, yo, yo. What do we got here? We need DMG. You are the reason why I'm doing this show. Great to see you here, man. For life felt like an eternity in bad rideshare. And sounds like it could be as good as the old guard. That's right. Could be. That's interesting. How would I apply this same kind of thinking? I would say old guard, I would have probably predicted, as excited as I was to see it way back then, I probably would have predicted average or maybe slightly above average for that one. The director was not without experience, so that was her first big flick. Of course, I scored it a lot lower. Anyway, great to see you here, DMG. And of course, now it's time to get to our next flick, Inside Out 2. Here, let's give that a little body English. Inside Out 2. Anyway, where are we here? Get my notes. Yes. All right. Logline here. Follow Riley, now in her teenage years, encountering new emotions. I mean, it's Inside Out 2. You're still going to have Joy running the show. She's got to the returning, of course, Amy Poehler is returning in that role. Lewis Black reprises his role as Anger. Phyllis Smith, who you'll remember, a number of key supporting character roles. She was also on The Office. She was Sadness in the first film. There was some drama over cast pay, so Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader took a pass as Disgust and Fear. They've got other performers there. The original was a critical and box office hit. This flick, Kelsey Mann's the director. This is his first time being a director. He has been a longtime animator in the Pixar, Disney, that kind of space, that top tier A-list animation space. And it is a big Pixar movie with big Pixar talent. So I suspect it will not just do, it is a sequel, but I suspect it'll still be 7.2 or above. It'll be in that wow factor. I don't think it'll, fall back solely just as average. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe you'll be all calling me a liar in a couple of months. But that's my take on Inside Out 2. I wonder what DMG. What do you think? Oh my goodness. Go figure. The stars playing Disgust and Fear quit over unsatisfying pay rates. One sec, I gotta hack a little. Oh, yikes. Terrible cough. DMG, love to hear what you think about Inside Out 2, what your prediction is. And I will move forward with the first, let's say, art house flick. We have a couple of genre flicks, but this is our first art house flick in the list. It is Firebrand. This is actually based on Catherine Parr. So Henry V's or Henry VIII's wives, you've got, of course, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived, and she is the survived. Although, actually, Anne of Cleves also survived, the second divorced. But she was the last wife of Henry VIII, and this allegedly tells their story. It's got some early reviews, not a lot, but it does have some early reviews. It premiered in Cannes in 2023, and it was in competition. So that's pretty prestigious. That said, it's a weird one. It's only got a 53% Rotten Tomato score, a 61 Metacritic score. So 53 would be, yeah, this is rotten. 61 Metacritic score would say generally positive. Interestingly enough, both are just a handful of reviews. I think it was 5 and 7, so not really a big consensus was established there. The director here, this makes it even harder. Karim Ainuz, this director, big art house director, ton of features. This is his 13th film. His average IMDb rating is 7.6. I would call this guy a star director or a star art house director, somebody everyone in that scene would know or would, I've seen a couple of his films or that kind of thing. Star talent, Alicia Vikander and Jude Law, not exactly folks who would be attracted to a kind of art house star director like this. That said, it's kind of a tough one. I looked at Anu's, and let me see if I can't bring it up on the screen here. Bear with me. There we go. Because if you look at... All right, folks, ignore the second block there. So here we are. If we look at Kareem's... thing, his kind of stuff is all over the map. His last feature got 5.9. Firebrand sitting at 6.5, but I kind of ignore that. Like it's the 150 people who saw it. How would you know? 7.2, then 6.7, 5.2, 7.7. You see what I mean, folks? He's sort of an all over the map kind of guy. Either the movie's either a hit or it tanks, right? And so I think with that in mind, I am going to predict that. I'm going to say it's not going to be. I'm going to predict it's either a woof or a win, and I know that's kind of hedging my bets. It won't be average though. I don't think this guy does average. It'll either be wow or woof. Under 6.2 or over 7.2. That's my prediction for Firebrand. I forgot to read off the log line. Catherine Parr, the sixth wife of Henry VIII, is named regent while the tyrant battles abroad. When the king returns, increasingly ill and paranoid, Catherine finds herself fighting for her own survival. So it's very much a court intrigue kind of operation, I suspect, and maybe a bit of a romance if we, look at the poster, if the poster is any indication. All right, next up we have Treasure. An American journalist, Ruth, who travels to Poland with her father, Edek, to visit his childhood places. But Edek, a Holocaust survivor, resists reliving his trauma and sabotages the trip, creating unintentionally funny situations. Stars Lena Dunham and Stephen Fry. The festival, it did premiere back in February at the Berlin International Film Festival, another prestigious film festival. It's got low, the reviews from from that festival was low, 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, 42% Metacritic score. Of course, again, a handful. So the director, Julia von Heinz, she's got a number of, this is her 7th feature film. Her average IMDb rating is 6.3. And given the, let's say, not exactly rave reviews coming out of the big festival there, I'm going to say, yeah, this is, and given that Lena Dunham's the star, and this is the kind of, you know, she can be a bit of a polarizing figure. I suspect this is going to be a woof. I suspect the ratings are going to be below 6.2 for Treasure. All right, we're moving. We're going to keep moving here, folks. Fresh Kills. Let's get that. Fresh Kills. Now, I'm not going to lie here, folks. I'm kind of excited to see this because the director is Jennifer Esposito, longtime character actor. Google her up. You'll know. You've seen her in a million things. Usually the brassy friend of the heroine. She plays a lot of those kind of roles. Also a tough girl. She's very, a lot of Italian-American kind of roles. Anyway, here's the log line. Follows the story of the loyal women of an organized crime family that dominated some of the boroughs of New York City in the late 20th century. It does star Emily Bader, who's kind of the lead character. It's really the story of a family seen through her eyes. Odessa Adzion, and of course Jennifer Esposito, directed by Jennifer Esposito. Now, she is a longtime character actress, like dozens of roles. That said, this is her first feature. So I wouldn't say she doesn't understand story. Directing is different. But this film premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival. And here's another one where it's kind of the other way. 89% Rotten Tomatoes score, but like 5 reviews. 42 on the Metacritic score, also I think 5 reviews. Yeah, first-time director, kind of who knows what's going on with the critics. I'm going to say this is probably headed straight to streaming. Like it'll have a little bit of a theatrical window and then off to digital on demand. And it's not going to do well. It'll be, I hate to say this because I'm kind of excited. I'll see it anyway. Maybe not in the theater, but I'll see it. But yeah, I'm not predicting good things. I think this will be a bit of an IMDb review woof. And something close to that in Rotten Tomatoes once it actually gets more reviews. Anyway, moving on. All right, the next big release of is the Bikeriders. Before I get into this, though, put this out to the chat. Why do you think this month seems... Actually, I think this month seems light as far as big releases go. Not that June is always a big release month, but I'm kind of surprised. It doesn't feel like we've got a ton going on. And even May, I didn't feel like we just had a ton going on, but maybe that's just me. Of course, when I think about it, I'm all thinking it was like COVID. Was it the strike that kind of depressed production? And so the slate is low. Anyway, love to hear your comments, either in comments if you're watching this on a replay, or of course, or in the chat right now. Anyway, where was I? The Bikeriders, yes. Here's the log line. After a chance encounter, headstrong Kathy is drawn to Benny, member of a Midwestern motorcycle club, the Vandals. Oh my goodness. All right. As the club transforms into a dangerous underworld of violence, Benny must choose between Kathy and his loyalty to the club. Oh my goodness. All right. This is definitely the first, I think actually the first movie where you got up and comers, like a real, like, wow, this could be a big summer movie, a big 4-quadrant summer movie. Stars Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, you may remember from a number of recent flicks, including Elvis, and of course Tom Hardy. Yeah, movie stars all. Big romance, big violence. Yeah, this is a weird kind of date movie, but I could see it as a date movie. Director is Jeff Nichols. He's got 6 features under his belt, including this one. Average IMDb rating for his films, 7.2. This premiered at the 2023 Telluride Film Festival and scored well both at Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm going to give this one, given the director's experience, the early reviews, even though they were small, they're in sync, 86% or 73 on Metacritic. Yeah, I'm going to say this is going to be a win. This will score higher than 7.2 on the IMDb reviews, and will definitely do north of 72% on that Rotten Tomatoes thing. It'll be a fresh. All right. Let's quick check in with the chat. Oh my goodness. DMG just chatting away here. Let's see what we got here, folks, before we all right. Oh, a cans artist. Wait. There we go. All right. DMG goes for the low bar. His prediction on Inside Out 2 is it will be the best and highest grossing family film of the summer. A low bar to clear indeed. What else? Do I think Alicia Vikander can still be a headliner above the title star at this point? Haven't seen her do much in the last 3 to 4 years. I don't think I'm not basing my review guess on whether or not she can open a film. I think she's got enough star power though to and she's made enough interesting choices that she'll pick a good script and a director she believes in. I think she brings that kind of credibility to the picture. That's whereas if I think of The Watcher, where I'm like, okay, sure, Dakota probably was a little pickier than Russell Crowe was, but it's not like she's still moving up in her career either. Yeah, that's kind of the way I was looking at it there. Jennifer Esposito is great on Spin City. Yes, she was. She was great in everything she was in. Like, I don't think that movie's going to do well, but I'm looking forward to seeing it anyway. Just to see Jennifer Esposito, work that director muscle. I think it's great when actors direct. June release schedule is the exact opposite of Sydney Sweeney. A bit thin off the top line, but deep in character. Oh! My goodness. Wait a second. I need a different one. There we go. Or maybe that. Okay. Doesn't get why they glammed up Austin Butler. But he did the opposite to Jodie Comer as his love interest. I think it's going to be a great contrast. I think it's almost one of those ones where they're sort of going, we have to have an every girl who gets the beautiful boy. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of their thinking. And I don't think they could de-glam Austin Butler. Like he's beautiful, you know. Comedy gold. Oh, Jimbo C, co-host with the most. Good to see you here, man. It's just popping in for the sec. Him and the spouse are just catching up on their stories. Good to see you, man. All right, let's get back at it. Where the heck was I? Ah, yes. Another art house flick that I am super looking forward to, and that is Kinds of Kindness. Here's the log line. A man seeks to break free from his predetermined path. A cop questions his wife's demeanor after a return from a supposed drowning. And a woman searches for an extraordinary individual prophesied to become a renowned spiritual guide. It's basically like a triptych, but they use a lot of the same actors in each different little part, little different story, and of course they all tie together thematically or some such nonsense. Directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. He of course did The Favorite, Poor Things, the Poor Things? Yeah, it was Poor Things. The Jim and I just loved that movie. I would call him another art house star director. 10 features under his belt. He's another one of those ones where it's either people love it or they hated it. His average IMDb rating is 6.7, but it is just that. It's a mix of woofs and wows. The star, Emma Stone, of course, is the big name. Jesse Plemons is in this, Willem Dafoe. Some of the other usual suspects Yorgos Lanthimos has is almost like a stable of performer talent. It was premiered this month, like just a few days ago at the Cannes Film Festival. It's in competition, and it's reviews, much like the Bikerider high, 92% Rotten Tomato score, 75 Metacritic score. Of course, still just a handful, but I don't think this, I'm risking much here to say I think Kinds of Kindness is going to be a wow. For those folks who see it, you're going to see it's going to be certified fresh, and it will score above 7.2 on IMDb reviews. So yeah, that's my prediction, folks, and I'm looking forward to seeing this one myself, perhaps with my co-host, Mr. Jim Chaboyko. All right, next up, moving into the end game here, folks. Another little indie. I'm not sure if I call it art house, but maybe Janet Planet. Here's the log line. In rural Massachusetts, 11-year-old Lacey spends the summer of 1991 at home, it's a period piece, enthralled by her own imagination and the attention of her mother, Janet. As the months pass, 3 visitors enter their orbit, all captivated by Janet. The director, Annie Baker, she comes from a theater background, I think. This is her first feature film. Stars Julianne Nicholson, Zoe Ziegler, Elias Koteas. I think it's Koteas. It's Canadian. I know that. It premiered at Telluride in 2023, Telluride Film Festival. It's also scored well, 80% Rotten Tomatoes, 84 on Metacritic. That said, sweetheart, I'm having a tough time with this one. It sounds super sweet. It sounds like Coda. It's got that, heartfelt, small town, family vibe, quirky family, that kind of thing. You know what? I'm going to go on a bit of a limb here, and notwithstanding the director's lack of experience here, let's give a benefit of the doubt to the early In Sync critical reviews. Again, although only a handful for each, is still pretty high praise. I'm gonna say, yeah, it'll be a wow, above 7.2 on IMDb, and probably a fresh out of Rotten Tomatoes. All right, moving in. Okay, getting down to the wire here, folks. Next one, Thelma. Here's one I am looking forward to seeing. It looks kind of goofy. When 93-year-old Thelma Post gets duped by a phone scammer pretending to be her grandson, she sets out on a treacherous quest across the city to reclaim what was taken from her. That's not a bad log line. Josh Margolin is the director. He's has some experience, bit of character actor experience, a lot of shorts and that kind of thing on his IMDb page. This is, I think I said before, but I'll repeat, is his first feature. Stars June Squibb as Thelma. You'll have seen her in a lot of stuff. She was Meemaw in Sheldon's Meemaw in one of the episodes of The Big Bang Theory. There's a deep, obscure cut for you. Fred Heschinger, Richard Roundtree, Parker Posey, Clark Gregg, Malcolm McDowell. Premiered at Sundance. 98% Rotten Tomatoes score and 76% Metacritic score. So I'm going to try and be consistent with what I said Janet Planet, and say that this will also be a wow, above 7.2. It's got all the, I'm running out of steam here, folks. It'll be a wow, above 7.2. That'll get edited out later when I cut them into little short things, my prediction. All right. Let's take another look at the chat before we... Oh, my goodness. DMG. Okay. Where are we here? Good to start the holiday weekend. We had our holiday weekend last weekend, Brian. Last weekend, the Monday, this is our short week. We had Monday off. It was what we call the Victoria Day long weekend. DMG, Kinds of Kindness has him excited for this one. Definitely has the weird factor going. Yeah, no, it does. Although, do you think it, DMG, do you think it looks weirder than Poor Things? As weird, not quite as weird. And Janet Planet, he's also excited about that. Damn it, Janet, I love you. Okay, here's a question for you. I think no one will see this in theaters, but indie film fans will flock to it in streaming and physical media. Which one are you referring to there? Which flick? All right. Now that moves it. We're getting into the end game here. Last two flicks. First, A Quiet Place Day One. The log line. Experience the day the world went quiet. I thought we kind of saw that in A Quiet Place 2. This, of course, is the third in the franchise. No Film Fest action here. It is also the first one where Mr. What the heck is his name again? Oh, my goodness. Bear with me, folks. Holy doodles. There we go. Mr. Krasinski. This is the first one where Mr. Krasinski is taking a big step back, only producing, and one of the people in the little writer's room they got going on there. It's going to be directed by Michael Sarnowski. This will be his third feature. His big claim to fame was 2021's critically acclaimed Pig. His IMDb rating average is 6.9. Stars Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn, Alex Wolff, and Jimon Honsu. As far as my prediction, this one's a lot easier. There's been a couple of tough ones where I'm kind of, you know what? I think this is going to be a perfectly average movie. I think it'll be perfectly fine, somewhere between 6.2 and 7.2. The really just going over the same stuff from a different character perspective. So yeah, that's my take on that, man. I don't know how well it'll do in the theater, but people will be coming out going, "Oh, that was perfectly fine." All right. So yes, between 6.2 and, but not as high, between 6.2 and 7.2 on IMDb, and a comparable Rotten Tomato score. All right. Where are we? Before we get into our last flick for our June 2022 outlook, 2024 outlook. Thelma without Louise. Good one. A CGI prequel. Oh, good grief. DMG. Every movie has CGI. All right. But I'm assuming what you're saying is Thelma's going to do great on streaming, not great in the theater. It'll be in and out in a second. Next is our last flick that at least I was willing to waste my time on, is Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. Oh, it's ridiculously long titles. This is part 1 of 2. The second is going to be released in August, already has an August release date. Chronicles a multifaceted 15-year span of pre- and post-Civil War expansion and settlement of the American West. Directed by Kevin Costner. Starring Kevin Costner and a galaxy of other stars in this flick. I would call him a star director. He's got a couple of Oscars. He's directed 5 features, including this one. His average IMDb rating is 7.2. And and I'll be happy to say that even The Postman, which was one that was kind of panned on when it first came out, which I kind of still have a soft spot for, has picked up in people's appreciation and the audience's appreciation over the years. Early reviews. It premiered at Cannes, and I'm going to double check this because sometimes it's these things don't come out as quickly as you'd think, but bear with me. Like, it's got a low Rotten Tomato score, at least when I last looked it up. But see if that has changed. Yeah, it's still tanking on Rotten Tomatoes. 30, but it has moved up to 32% from 19 reviews at Cannes. That does not bode well for this. This may be one of those ones where it kind of fell flat. It is a long movie, I think. What the heck is it? What's its running time, folks? Oh my goodness. Running time, for crying out loud. Heaven forbid they give me something useful. Woof. 3 hours and 1 minute. So, and there's a whole other part yet. So I'm wondering if this is going to feel like Dune, where it's like, oh my goodness. So yeah, I'm going to, notwithstanding Mr. Costner's experience and his long record of success, I'm going to go with the Rotten Tomatoes and the Metacritic score and say, yeah, this one's going to suck. It's going to be a bit of a woof. It's kind of a bummer to end the show on that note. But yeah, I'm going to say, yeah, it's going to score below 6.2 on the IMDb ratings, notwithstanding the 8.3 it has right now. I don't know how like a lot of these ones that have film festival, a premiere, and some reviews also have hundreds of IMDb ratings. And I'm like, kind of, really, where are they from? Everybody in the crew had to, is they obligated to, here, to give us your IMDb account number. We're gonna help you with this. Anyway, yeah, so that, folks, whoopsie. That ends this part of the production. I will also shamelessly take advantage of your time to go, please give the show a like, thumbs up, subscribe, perhaps a ringy dingy. Here. That's right, ringy dingy that bell. And thank you very much for coming out. Of course, I will probably do some gentle editing to this bit of nonsense. But I really do want to thank you very much for coming in. Speaking of which, that would be a big shout out to, of course, my co-host with the most. We will be back on Sunday night. Wondering why no one talks about American Beauty anymore. Trying to answer that question. Huge hit in 1999, and other than the kind of memey joke about self-involved filmmakers with a floaty bag, a thing of beauty, enjoying beauty in the everyday. I can you tell I've been watching Superstore of late, Superstore reruns. Yeah, that's what we'll be doing Sunday night. Dragon Rideshare guy, totally unrelated to DMG. Anyway, great to see you in the chat there, DMG. Oh, I love this. Between 6'2" and 7'2" is how most basketball players thrive. But I think A Quiet Place Day One will bad if stuck between the two. Will bad? I don't know what you're saying there. I can guarantee one thing about Horizon. There won't be any dedication saying for Christine. Ooh. The movie is longer than most of my live streams. Oh, I totally get that one. Just barely. You're absolutely right, DMG. I think going back to A Quiet Place, yeah, who knows? You know what? But it's interesting. I have been building where it gets some of these numbers, just so people understand where I'm coming from here. I've actually been building a database of the top 100 films for the last 10 years and tracking what their score is on IMDb, Metacritic, and Rotten Tomatoes. I've been working on IMDb first, and it's interesting, which fits published figures I've been able to find from other sources, but IMDb, their average is anywhere between 6.7 and 6.9 on all movies. What I have found is that the average rating of the last 2 years, top 100 films, is at 6.7. And each year I add to the database what I would call the standard, not what I would call, statistic calls the standard deviation is shrinking. Myself, I decided to narrow it some. If you just do one standard deviation, well, that's 70% of all films, right? But it does mean that chart, it's not one of those gentle curves, gentle bell curves. It's more like one of these, where a lot are really just kind of average. And something where, let's say it's a 6.2, and you might go, yeah, I didn't really like it. But there'd be enough people kind of going, well, that's still pretty good. Whereas 7.2 will still have some mid-6 folks who are going, I don't know what movie you saw. But yeah, that most of them are stuck in the average. You know, most movies we see are fine. Just fine. And yes, DMG, I can only think of, whenever I think of that, I think of you, and think of Free Guy, a perfectly fine film that should, if there's any justice, but I will check right now, but if there's any justice, that should have a 7.1, max 7.2 IMDb rating, but we're going to find out right this second. All right, folks. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I gotta... is right. Look at that. 7.2, baby. Or 7.1. An average movie. You know, slightly above average, but within a rather narrow deviation from the middle. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from on this. And what I hope to do is this on the regular, which is to, you know, at every month, give or take, you know, a week or two before the next month, to kind of take a look at these films and give you my prediction. And as my my prediction model improves, of course, I'll tighten up my own predictions, but it'll also be an opportunity to see how well I did compared to the previous month. I might wait another month, and then, of course, we should review once a flick comes out on streaming to see if any of that math changed, either for me or against me. But yeah, this is kind of where I'm coming from. And of course, myself, I'm thinking about this in a sense that the director is still the strongest predictor of whether or not a film's going to be any good. Looking at the trailer is fine to get you even kind of going, oh, I might be interested in seeing that. I saw a Thelma trailer. I'm like, I would like to see that. But then, of course, as I dig in further, I'm like, oh, good. It's also getting good reviews. So that's always more comforting when you're going to spend your time. Whereas, say, Fresh Kills, it's like, oh, that looks cool, but I don't think that's going to be good. Because we've got to be a bit more, let's say, rational, maybe. No one would buy a car off a car ad. You'd do your research. Well, I think it's the same thing for a film. The trailer is only a way to get you excited about the film and maybe give you an idea of what the film is about. Maybe. It's not, the trailer isn't made by the director. It's not edited by the editor. It's made by a marketing department who hires an outside firm who goes, great, give us some footage and what's it about? Okay, yeah, we'll get you something. We'll get something back to you, you know. And sometimes they'll, you know, let the director have a look beforehand. Say, hey, I hope you like this. but they're definitely not there to give their feedback on it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from here, to maybe try and apply a more rational model to predict how good, a movie's going to be, how well it'll be received by an audience. So anyway, DMG, gentle bell curves, definitely doesn't describe Sydney Sweeney. Oh. Well, let's give you a, what am I going to give you there? Well, that doesn't do nothing. Or maybe a. All right, everyone. Again, thank you all very, very much. Really appreciate you coming out, and hope, please like, subscribe, all that nonsense. YouTube will tell you something to watch there or there, and